Welcome to Are You Quizzing Me? I'm Vinit Nair with my co host Aditya Kashyap. This is a quizzing trivia podcast show. Join us as we dive deep into history, science, sport, pop culture, and so much more. Let's get quizzing. And it's another day, another episode. Welcome to episode number 34 of Are You Quizzing Me? We're back with a boatload of questions and some silly jokes. Let's start off the episode with an audience question, the answer for which I will reveal at the end of the episode. Circumstellar habitable zone is the range of orbits around a star within which a planet can support liquid water given the appropriate atmospheric conditions. To be precise, this habitable zone has just the right temperature, and Earth and Kepler 186f are some planets found to lie in these orbits. What other name do circumstellar habitable zones or CHZs go by? Let me repeat the question. Circumstellar habitable zone is a range of orbits around a star within which a planet can support liquid water given the appropriate atmospheric conditions. To be precise, this habitable zone has to have just the right temperature. Earth and Kepler 186f are some planets found to lie in these orbits. What other name or what more popular name do CHZs go by? We will reveal the answer to this at the end. And let's start off with our long standing tradition of torture at the hands of Aditya's sharp wit. So, Aditya, you asked a very sharp question last week. And what is your answer for the same?
The question I asked last week was Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 had these phonograph records which were supposed to encapsulate humanity and show us off to any intelligent species out there in the world. And I was asking our audience, what is it that we missed out on putting onto those records? There were a lot of images and a lot of sounds that were there. But what did we miss out on? And I had a couple of answers. So I'm just going to run through a few of them. The first one is we should have definitely put the image of the Miss Universe at that time and just ask them what did they think, because we have decided this is Miss Universe. Did they agree that this is the most attractive female in the whole of the universe, or were we being a bit too selfish in our opinion? Apart from that, I also wanted, and this is a bit ahead of its time, but I would have loved to put the picture of the blue and black dress or the yellow and golden, white and gold dress, just so that we could have a final answer and a firm answer on what do they think is the right answer. Because till date, I'm still not convinced. Everybody has told me it's blue and black, but I still hold the fact that it is white and gold, and everybody else is just lying to me. It's a giant conspiracy theory. It is definitely white and gold. So I would love an alien opinion on that. And just as a final means of measure, we should have also put something which would be intimidating, just so that they don't come knocking on our door. And that would be humanity's greatest weapon ever developed, the Nokia 3310, the industry, just an indestructible weapon that they would never dare attack us out of fear of. Yeah. So these three things I think we should have put on the golden records.
I'm just speechless, absolutely speechless.
As would the aliens be, Vineet. This all makes sense.
True, true. A little bit of a diversion, but one thing that I've always wondered is that how many of these aliens do have the same sensory organs as we do?
Hmm.
Do they actually hear anything? Will they be actually able to see anything? They might be life forms with a completely different concept of life. I read somewhere once that we wouldn't be able to know if rocks were alive because if rocks' lives are measured in millions of years, human beings are just flashes to them.
Bit too deep after my answer, so I don't like how you're making me sound stupid.
I'm
But
trying to counterbalance, provide some counterbalance, and I'm going to plug something for which I we are not receiving any kind of sponsorship, but this is just amazing, and I take every opportunity to plug this book. If you've not read it, please go and read Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary. Andy Weir, if most of you know, is the viral author of the short story called The Egg and The Martian, and he has an amazing, probably one of the most unique first contact novels I've read, and it's very fun to read, very accessible, even if you're not a science fiction nerd. So please go read Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary. Now that the plug is done and we have somehow survived through Aditya's answer, let's start off the quiz. And Aditya, I believe it's your turn this week. So hit us with a question, please.
Okay, so I'm going to start us off with something in our region of the world, and this is Bhutan that I speak of. So, during the late 19th century Duar War involving Bhutan and the British, Jigme Namgyal, I hope I'm coming close to the actual pronunciation, Jigme Namgyal, father of the first Dragon King, is said to have launched an arrow from afar, praying to Yeshe Gonpo, the chief Bhutan's protective deity. The arrow was shot from atop a hill and landed on the British general's forehead, killing him. This is an impressive story. It is an anecdote. It might have some layers of exaggeration and as these things go, but it is a big part of the Bhutanese culture. Now, what significance has this held till date in Bhutan, and how is it recognized in Bhutan today?
Wow, it's a fascinating story, by the way. But thing I have to say, I'm woefully ignorant about Bhutan in general. Uh, I haven't given that country much of an importance, and I don't know many facts about it except for that television came to them very, very late. And it's a very peaceful and quiet and quite green country. It's very easy for Indians to visit. Apart, I think that's the sum totality of my knowledge of Bhutan. Sad to say that is. So we are talking about one of their folk heroes or maybe historical figures shot an arrow from top a hill which landed on the forehead of a British general.
That's right.
Okay, so he was like the Carlos Hathcock of Bhutan.
Sure. If whoever Carlos Hadcock is, I'm not sure who that is, but yes.
No, he would have used a rifle, and he was much later during the Vietnam War. Okay, no, I have zero clue about what this is. I don't want to even speculate. I have no idea.
So this would fall under the category of national symbols of the country. And I use symbol in a very broad sense. So not specifically like an emblem or something, but one of the national markers of the country,
Okay, something to do with their flag.
even broader in terms of national markers.
Does the dragon have anything to do with Bhutan, or am I confusing it for other South
No,
Asian?
no, the dragon is an important symbol in Bhutanese culture, but this is not the
Okay,
right answer in this case.
nope. I'll need something more close. Basically, just the dummies version of this question.
Okay. Since then, X, so let's call it X, has been a hallmark of
Hmm.
Bhutanese culture in their military, in their religion, especially amongst the men, but even women, but mostly the men, and general society and life.
Is this a sartorial choice of some sort, or at least a fashion choice or something?
It's a great guess, but no, in this case, it's not really the answer. No.
No. Among the men, not something they wear.
Something they do.
Nope. Nothing. Zip, zilch, nada. Zero.
It could be said it's a national pastime. That brings you closer. If you can relate the story to this, the little anecdote I shared.
Okay, so somebody sends an arrow. Do they mime, shooting arrows or something?
I'll give it to you because that's as close as you're going to get, I imagine.
Are you
No,
kidding
no,
me?
no. They don't mind. The archery is the national sport of Bhutan. That is what I was
Oh,
going
okay.
to.
I was overthinking this way too many levels
It
above.
wasn't that complicated. But that is one of the most important folklores that has led to archery being very important in the country. And today, most
Oh,
Bhutanese
okay.
men apparently have an unleashed passion for archery. And I'm quoting a website here when I say that. And it is also the national sport of Bhutan. It's one of those unique national sports because a lot of the national sports are these common team sports. It's football or it's your hockey or all of these kind of things. But for Bhutan, it's archery. And it stems in these few historical anecdotes, the most important one, which I just mentioned. That's one of the reasons that Bhutan today values archery so much.
Wow. That's a very nice question. It pivots to my question in no way whatsoever, so I'll just say it. So my question is as follows: Thomas Edison, brilliant man, recognized the impossible demand for a high-speed copying device after he saw there was a lot of document duplication required in a lot of professions, like merchants, lawyers, etc. So he invented the electric pen in 1876. Later, this device that he invented was adapted in 1891 to become the first blank. What did this invention turn to, which is still being used today?
I want to say a stylus,
No, not a stylus.
an electric pen. Which year did you say that it was?
Yes, an electric pen.
Which year was it invented in?
It was invented, the electric pen was invented by Edison in 1876, and later in 1891, it was adapted to become the first blank. I'll give you the name. I don't know if this will help you. Most probably not. But in 1891, an inventor by the name of Samuel O'Reilly modified this to create the world's first blank, X, whatever you want to call it. So, what was it adapted into becoming?
It's supposed to be electric. I'm just trying to think of ways to. I was thinking of carbon copy, that little thing that you use to create but electric. And it was meant to solve the initial problem that Edison was trying to solve was the need for making a lot of copies in professions.
Yeah, basically a high speed copying device which could duplicate documents very quickly.
And the eventual use that Samuel Riley, I believe, his product or whatever his device was supposed to do the exact same thing.
His adaptation of this device has nothing to do with copying documents.
Oh, then I need a clue.
I would say that it's the primary use of this is not the primary use, practically the only use of this particular modification is in the realm of art and self expression. I'm being vague and trying to make clues which will sound make sense later, but are absolutely clueless now. So just roll with it for a while.
Seems around the right time for photography, and I'm thinking something like a selfie because you just said self-expression.
No, there are a lot of ways of expressing, yourself. I'll give you another
Yeah.
clue. The art form that we're talking about now has reality TV shows dedicated to
That's too vague a clue. We need like you can make a reality show out of anything these days.
it.
I swear the number of reality shows that I see. There is this one which is called "Is this a real cake or not?" or something along those lines. And literally all people are doing there is they're making imitation cakes of real life
Wait,
objects.
I remember this. I think I saw a trailer for
Yeah.
this. It's where like realistic looking cakes where they have to guess whether it's an actual cake or the actual object. Yes, I remember seeing that.
Then, and of course, there is no end to the dating. I'm sorry, I'm going to rant a little bit. There's this random dating show that I saw a trailer for where there are a bunch of slightly older women, and I believe their sons. And these are the two groups of people. And then you can date your friend's mom, I guess, or something like that. So they're dating each other's like mothers, which is just like such a strange setup for. I
Yeah,
don't.
the producer on that has watched too much
Yeah, I
pornography.
don't know. I don't know what
He,
edible complex he has. I have no idea what he's trying to work through in this case.
no, I don't think he. I think he's basically watched too much pornography that he can't distinguish, between fantasy and real life anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even want to try to psychoanalyze.
No, I saw this show that popped up on the Amazon feed, where Amazon Prime feed, Naked and Afraid, or something like that. Where apparently it's a dating show where everybody's naked.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just newborn babies.
No, it's not Naked and Afraid, Naked and Love or
Oh,
something.
okay.
I can't remember the
Okay.
name. But the basic conceit of the show was that everybody's naked.
That that
Okay, so rants over. Let's come back to the
point being,
question.
there are too many reality shows out there.
Too many reality shows. Yeah.
I don't know. You said reality show and electric and trying to think of something shaped like a pen. Is it a microphone by any chance? I don't know.
No. Okay. So let me give you this. Even though this particular item now that it's been adapted is erroneously sometimes called a gun, and people in the art form in that particular industry or people who use it, most of them hate it that it's called a gun.
No, I'm completely blank right now. So you might as well put me out of my misery and shoot me with the answer.
Okay, okay. Let me just give you one last clue to see if you can get it. You see parlors which will be using this all across Goa. If you would come down to the beaches, people get very highly paid to use this particular product to create self expression where Your body is the canvas.
Oh, okay. Yeah, tattoo gun, I would imagine, but
It's not a tattoo gun, it's a tattoo
tattoo
machine.
machine. Okay, I use the same
Yeah.
misnomer there. But wait, wow, I would have never connected this in a million years. How is this related to India?
Exactly. I saw this and I was like, "Whoa, I really have to put this in a question." Yeah. So the predecessor to the tattoo machine was Thomas Edison's electric pen, which was patented under the title stencil pen in Newark, New Jersey, in 1876. It was originally intended to be used as a duplicating device, but in 1891, Samuel O'Reilly discovered that Edison's machine could be modified and used to introduce ink into the skin, and later patented a tube and needle system to provide an ink reservoir. Modern day tattoo machines use electromagnets, so which is a modification. It's not exactly how it used to be in Edison's day, or rather some Samuel O'Reilly's day, but yeah, we owe the presence of the tattoo machine to Edison's self-replicating electric pen, or duplicating electric pen.
That's that is insane. I am blown away by the fact that a device which I would have never related to tattoos was the inspiration behind a tattoo machine. And kudos to this guy,
Yeah.
Riley, for figuring out this insanely creative use of electric pen. Yeah, cool, pretty cool.
And have you seen those reality shows where tattoo artists compete against each other?
See now, okay, now this is what I mean. Like I didn't even know there's a reality show about tattoo artists, but I'm not surprised. I am sure there is one. There is a reality show about tattoo artists.
Yeah, it's called Ink Master.
Of course it is.
It's called Ink Master, and the thing about it is they actually have real life people. They have real life
Mhm,
people on whom these tattoo artists,
mhm.
perform. I mean, like they create art pieces on real life people, and they compete among each other. So if one of them screws up,
Okay.
it's like it's fascinating to watch. And they call the people who volunteer to get tattooed,
Uh-huh.
they're called human canvases.
Okay.
The show is bonkers. Trust me, it's
I'll take your
bonkers.
word for it. I will take your word for it.
Yeah. It's got 14 seasons. Not kidding. 14 seasons.
They did miss out on a naming opportunity. They missed out on a naming opportunity. I feel like they could have called it such interesting things. They could have been like a tattoo hot to handle or
Oh, that is good. That is good.
yeah, I think there are many options there. But anyways, go ahead. You said 14. Who's the host?
14 seasons, and it's hosted by Dave Navarro, if you remember, was the guitarist for Red Hot
Yes,
Chili
yes.
Peppers.
Okay.
So, your turn.
Speaking of leaving a mark, that's my segue.
Segue, okay.
Uh, Theodore, I'm not giving his full name. Theodore is the author of Industrial Society and Its Future. And this was a critique opposing industrialization, rejecting leftism, and advocating nature centrism. Theodore
Hmm.
is infamous today and is known by a very specific name. So let me give you a timeline just so that things are a bit clearer. The thing that he's infamous for happened in the 70s, the 80s, around that time frame. Okay, so for 2 decades over there. Theodore is also a famous mathematician. Who or what do we know him better as?
Okay. So, see, when you say Theodore, first of all, nobody calls himself Theodore, right? Nobody calls him. Like, even if you're named Theodore, they don't go by Theodore. They all go by Ted or Teddy.
Okay.
Now, when you say Theodore, the first name that obviously comes to mind is Roosevelt, but no, he wasn't anything to do with this. Which leads me to believe that you say Theodore specifically to make not to divert my attention and make me not think of Ted. And it's also the fact that I have a fairly good idea about who this is. And I was waiting for you to finish this question so I could pounce. If I'm not mistaken, this man is famous for having murdered around 40 women.
You would be incorrect, actually.
Oh, this is interesting. Okay, I thought I had it nailed that it was Ted Bundy.
I.
So it's not Ted
It's not
Bundy.
Ted Bundy,
Is it Ted from Bill and Ted's Excellent
no.
Adventure?
No, no, no. This is that would be a fantastic answer. Now I wish that was my question. I really want to retroactively change my question, but no. This is an actual person, not a fictional.
Okay. Okay. So famous other Teds. Ted Kennedy?
No.
I don't think he was a mathematician. He told me he's a famous mathematician, right?
Him being a mathematician is also something that is part of his lore, but he's not famous
Hmm.
for being a mathematician.
Okay. So Theodore. And he's famous for something he did in the 70s.
75 to almost 2 decades later.
Okay, so he's still famous.
He's still famous. Yeah, yeah. The name is probably something you've heard of. Probably most people have heard of.
The guy who played Ivan Drago in Rocky 4 or Rocky 3.
No, no, no. No.
No? He has a doctorate or something, right? He's a
Yeah, no.
mathematician. No, he's a
Like,
chemist.
yes, he is a chemist, I believe, by profession or by.
Okay, Dolph
No,
Lundgren. Yeah,
yes, you're right.
Dolph Lundgren.
No,
Okay,
no.
it's not
This is
him.
somebody who's
Okay, so it's not
infamous.
him.
Infamous. I think I mentioned
Infamous,
infamous.
infamous. Okay, I that's what the moment you mentioned infamous, I was like, I've got this. This is Ted Bundy. But
Also died not too long ago, June 10th, 2023.
okay, give me a clue. I'm loving this question, by the way.
The name we know him by is actually the name derived from how the FBI identified his case file.
Okay, this is Deep Throat.
Oh, no, no, no. Deep Throat is the porn film. No, no, no. This has nothing to do.
No, I was okay. So okay, let me just clarify this for the audience. I was talking about the actual source for Woodward and Bernstein, who was nicknamed Deep Throat, and Aditya's mind straight went to the Linda Lovelace porn film. Make of that what you will. So
I'm a child of cinema, Vineet. I don't know what to tell you. Let's assume that's why.
okay, okay, no, nothing. I'm completely
Okay.
blanking.
Sorry, I think I said 1975. I meant 1978. Between
Okay.
1978 and 1995, so for that period of 17 years,
Hmm.
is when Theodore did the things that he is infamous for. Before that, he was studying mathematics. He was also doing a little bit of mathematic work. He also wrote that document that I mentioned,
Yeah.
Industrial Society and Its Future, which is
Okay. This is okay. This is Ted Kaczynski,
this is
the Unabomber.
this is Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski. You got that absolutely right. I will give
Yes.
it to
Oh
you.
God, I can't believe it took me so long. Okay, this is yeah, I knew this is okay. I have to beat myself. I knew this, and I just completely forgot the fact that he was a mathematician. He was a very brilliant man.
You are being too hard on yourself. You got it very quickly. I'm very impressed. I mean, don't worry.
No. To be fair, I went through, let's say, Bill and Ted from Bill and Ted. I went through Ted Bundy. I went through Ted Kennedy. I even brought in Lord Rundgren. So please, let's be fair. I did not get this quite
I
quickly.
host quizzes very often in Mumbai, and there are these few audience members who always give such creative answers that I want to give them points essay. And I think that just saying Bill and Ted is just I would have 100% given you bonus points for being creative if you were in my quiz. So either ways you win. But great job. No, it is the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski, as he's also known as. And Unabomber actually comes from the fact that the FBI used the case identifier Unabom, UNABOM, which stood for University
Okay.
and Airline Bomber. And the media then
Hmm.
started using the moniker Unabomber. Now, for those of you who might not be familiar with who the Unabomber was or what did he do, apart from the things that I've already mentioned in his life before 1978, post 1978, Kaczynski or Unabomber mailed or hand delivered a series of increasingly sophisticated bombs that cumulatively killed 3 people and injured 23 others. 16 of these bombs were attributed to Kaczynski. The bombing devices varied widely through the years, many containing the initials FC, which Kaczynski later said stood for Freedom Club. And this ties back into his manifesto, The Industrial Society and Its Future, because he was advocating some sort of nature centered anarchism. He had also said in 1995 that if New York Times or the Washington Post published this manifesto, he would desist from terrorism and he would stop sending these particular bombs. But anyways, eventually he was apprehended for his crimes, and he died not too long ago this year on June 10th. That is the story of the Unabomber in a nutshell.
Yes, and I think there's a series on Netflix, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's called Manhunt,
Hmm.
The Hunt for the Unabomber, which is quite well done. So yeah, that's also there. A cracking question, one which I'm still beating myself up. I should have gotten that earlier. Okay, so let's go back to the middle of the previous century. It's a common misconception that minds at NASA invented it, but it's not true. This was actually available several years prior to NASA missions to space. This was poor in this particular product, let's call it X, was poor in sales before its association with NASA and the manned flight space program. The parent company used it as a marketing gimmick to increase sales, and it worked. Even though it is not as famous as it used to be in the US, it is still highly popular in South America and in many parts of Asia, and it's a $1 billion global brand. Which particular brand am I talking about?
Oh, it's a brand. It's not a It's not a generic product.
No, no. So okay, let me just give you a small précis of this question again. So a lot of people believe that people minds at NASA invented it, but it's actually not true. It was available even before the space missions, but its association with the space program was very cleverly used by its parent company to market it.
Hmm.
So much so that it became almost synonymous with the space program in many people's minds during that time. Talking about the Apollo space program. Post that, it's maybe not as popular as it used to be in the US, but in South America and many parts of the Middle East and Asia, it is still quite popular. Which particular brand or product am I talking about?
I was going to initially say Velcro, but
Oh, great guess, but no.
yeah, because the geography part of it threw me off a little. Sorry, which part of the world is it still popular in?
It's still popular quite, especially in South America, but it's also popular in the Middle East. I can attest to that. It's also somewhat popular in India and parts of Southeast Asia and Asia.
Hmm. And
I wouldn't say it's on top because there are, homegrown competitors who give it a stiff competition.
okay, so we're
But
looking
yeah,
for a specific brand then in this case. Um,
yes.
is this something famous enough? I'm assuming I've heard of this.
I'm assuming, yes, I would say it's a very fair assumption that you've at least heard of it, and you may even have had personal experience.
That popular, again, I was thinking of the dehydrated foods, but that is
I would not say that you are very far away if you were thinking of dehydrated food.
interesting. Uh,
I wouldn't say dehydrated, but yeah, you just keep thinking in that particular you uh, line
is
of
it
thought.
in food and beverage kind of space?
Yes. Now, let me just tell you this: that our generation would not particularly have this association with NASA.
Hmm.
It's the generation, or at least the marketing of that, was started in the '60s, and I think it maybe went on in the '70s.
Okay. Um,
But it no longer uses that particular association for marketing, as far as I know. However, among the older generation, a lot of people still think of this particular product as having been possibly invented by NASA, being used by NASA.
Milk powder?
Oh no, but very close. So close, but so far.
Is it? Is it? I can't even think of the right brand name, but I'm thinking something along the lines of Rasna, like an orange drink.
Oh, okay, okay. Now, Rasna is the Indian one,
Right.
which is the one that which you would think of
Jesus,
internationally.
I can only think of Rasna right now. What is the? Yeah, no, I'm completely blanking on what the American version of this would have been.
Okay, I don't know if this would be a clue,
Uh-huh.
but there used to be a Chinese dynasty with this name.
My Chinese is
You've heard of the Ming
Ming Dynasty. I
dynasty,
was just
right?
going to say Ming.
So there used to be, yeah, no, there was a Ming dynasty. Similarly, there was another dynasty which has a similar. I mean, like, completely coincidental, but yeah, they had the same name as this brand.
Of course, we have all heard of the Chinese dynasty Ruafza. I don't know.
That actually was going to be a question of mine. Ruabza and Hamdard.
No. No, I can't even think of Han, Qing. I don't know. There are a few dynasties that I know, and I don't even know which one would fit the bill.
Okay, so
That's the answer.
I think I'll give the answer now. You have heard of Tang?
Tang, of course, of course. Tang Dynasty. That makes sense also.
Yes.
Ruafza before I said Tang. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I've had Tang myself.
So
Yeah. So Tang is famous enough.
yeah, yeah. So this was formulated and trademarked in 1957 and became available to the public in 59, because in those days it was cutting edge technology. Just ready to mix juice. It was used by early NASA crewed space flights. In 1962, when Mercury astronaut John Glenn conducted eating experiments in orbit, Tang was selected for the menu. It was also used during some Gemini flights and also been carried abroad numerous space shuttle missions. The creator of Tang, William Mitchell, also is, interestingly enough, the guy who invented Pop Rocks, Cool Whip, and Jello. So this is why this it was marketed after its use in the NASA space program. It was marketed as such, and a lot of people then got this misconception that it was invented by NASA, but it's not. And it's not as popular in the US anymore, but South America, it's hugely popular. Middle East, definitely, I know, because I grew up with Tang. And I don't know about Singapore. India, yes, it like recently, or at least now, it's quite available in most major supermarkets. So yeah.
Fun little question. And I had no idea that there was an association to NASA over there. But TIL moment for the day
Yeah.
for me. Okay. And I'm going to ask you something again from the middle of the 20th century. I'm assuming you have heard of the Golden Bear Award. This is at the Berlin International Film Festival. This is completely unrelated to my actual question, but just some famous winners are. No, no, the Golden Bear
Okay.
is, but I'm just telling you some winners just in case. 12 Angry Men has won the Golden Bear. A Separation, one of the movies I really like from Iran, that has won. Elite Squad, also a movie that I personally love. Spirited Away. These are some famous movies that have won the Golden Bear Award. Okay, but coming back to the actual question, the Golden Bear Award was redesigned in 1960. There was a slight modification made in 1960. What was this modification?
Mhm.
The Golden Bear statue.
It was actually made to look like a bear.
No, it already looked like a bear to begin with.
Okay. It was made golden. Maybe it was silver before, and they decided no after. No, is it like a post World War II thing that okay, now we have money, so we'll make it gold?
I actually am not sure of what material it is made or what material it was made. So that is not the case. But let me give you some description of what it looks like. It's a 20 centimeter high replica of a bear. It is fixed onto a base where the
Okay.
winning name is engraved. The figurine consists of a bronze core, which is then plated with a layer of gold. Okay, yes, I do know what it's made. This is a layer of gold. It
Okay.
was designed in 1932 by the German sculptor Rene Sintenis of Berlin's heraldic mascot, which later became the symbol of the festival. So the bear came to importance because of that.
Oh, so, Berlin's heraldic mascot was a
Yeah.
bear. Okay, I have no clue. You'll have to give me a clue.
It was first awarded in 1951, just by the way. It's still active till date. Let's say this
1951, and the change was made when?
1960.
Anything to do the space program?
No, not to do with the space program, but to do with Germany's own history. Recent history at that point, so something that had already passed.
Prior to 1960, Germany, that would be East and West Germany, and Checkpoint Charlie,
You're,
World War
yeah, I
II.
think there are only so many things that Germany is famous for, and this,
No, I'm going to go back to the Weimar
I'm,
Republic,
I'm going to say, I'm
World
going to
War
say,
One.
when you think Germany, what did they do in the 20th century? The first thing that comes to mind is the answer.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind would be Oktoberfest, but still.
No, not what they
No, okay,
continue
so
to
we are talking
do,
about.
but what did they do once upon a time,
Okay.
unfortunately.
So we are talking about the Holocaust and Germany's horrific atrocities during the
Yeah.
war.
So it has to do with the Nazi history
And
of
some
Germany. But how did it affect the Golden Bear Award?
any kind of Nazi imagery was removed from the.
Yes, you're very close. You're very close.
So, so when you're talking about Nazi imagery, the first two things that come to mind is the Iron Eagle and the swastika.
So not specifically symbols, but something which would be
Okay,
considered a very iconic Nazi. imagery.
Did they have was it something else inscribed on the trophy
Oh,
itself, which turned out to be something on the gates of Auschwitz or Bergen-Belsen or something
let
like
me
that?
actually make it slightly easier for you. They redesigned the position of the bear.
Nazis and bears. I can't think of anything there. Oh wait, did it have the Heil Hitler salute? Was the bear having a arm raised up in a Heil Hitler salute?
So if you look at the Berlin heraldic mascot, it is a bear with one arm raised. In the original design, the right arm
Oh,
was raised of the bear. They redesigned it to the left arm of the bear being raised in 1960. They changed that design.
oh!
I would say a bit.
It took them 10 years to do
Yeah,
that.
and interestingly, this was designed okay, in 1932, but the first award was 1950. They could have easily done it before they gave the first award, also. But
Exactly.
for some reason, it took them a while. But it's okay, at least late rather than never. I will caveat this question with the fact that I tried to research a lot, and there was only one place where I found that that was the reason that they did the redesign. But there are no other
Okay.
proposed reasons for why they did the redesign. So I imagine that seems to be the most
Okay.
straightforward answer.
No, no. We are owning this. This is why they changed.
Putting it out there in the world, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. My next question is going to go a little further back in history. If you are listening with kids, this may be the time to, tell them to close their ears or let them go to the next room or whatever. But I really like this question. So some say, okay, this is apocryphal. Let me see. I don't have primary sources for this, but I like this question and I choose to believe this is the answer. So let's go with this question again. Some say that X, or this particular individual, was the inventor of the world's very first vibrator. The legend goes that she took a god, or in some sources, it's a papyrus box, and had it hollowed. She then filled the container with live honeybees, which would then cause it to, you know, give pleasure when placed at strategic locations. Which historical figure is supposed to have done this? Again, as I mentioned, you can do the board fact checking on this. I really love this piece of trivia, so I'm just saying this is true.
This is going to be Cleopatra.
Yes, it is. It is Cleopatra. A lot of stories about her. A lot of stories about her. And this is another one. Now, again, I don't know if this is post. There are a lot of stories about Cleopatra which have been put out by her political
Right.
rivals, which has historically been the case for a lot of powerful women. You know, the whole story about Catherine the Great and the horse,
Yes, of course.
the stallion. Yes, yeah, yeah. So it might be true, but I would like to believe that she was liberated enough to have thought, like, I want to be in charge of my own
Why
pleasure.
not? Why not? Yes.
More power to her.
More power to
Yeah.
Cleopatra.
So yeah. So that's, I think, that's all the time we have for today for our regular programming. Aditya, what's your question?
Okay, so my question pertains to your fantastic question, Vineet, which was about Tang and how there was a misassociation to NASA, but in fact it has other origins. And I want to bring it back home, and I want to ask, what is it that in my own made up history is wrongly associated to India's space missions, but instead was not invented there and has come from our other sources? And this is a food item that I will reveal in the next episode.
Fair enough. As you may all may remember, I had asked a question at the beginning of this episode, and I'll be giving the answer to that now. So, as I mentioned, the question again was: circumstellar habitable zone is a range of orbits around a star within which a planet can support life and liquid water, given the appropriate atmospheric temperature. To be precise, this habitable zone has to have just the right temperature. Earth and Kepler 186f are some planets found to lie in these orbits. What other name do CHZs, or circumstellar habitable zones, go by? Or what are they more famously known? Aditya, do you have an answer? I have a fairly good idea that you may know this.
I do know this answer, and interestingly enough, there are these things that you sometimes read online, and you realize how false they are. So, okay, let me start with the answer. I believe the answer is Goldilocks zone.
Yes, Goldilocks zone, where the temperature is not too hot, not too cold, just right.
There was this little, and again, I don't mean to make this a debate about theology or anything like that. I'm not yet take a stance on it, but I just remember reading this and I thought it was hilarious. Where somebody said that, oh, if the Earth was only a few inches uh, further away from the sun, a few inches closer, uh, Earth would not be able to support water and life as we know it today. And there was this little comment on it which just said, "You do know the Earth's orbit is an ellipse, right? So it goes massively out and inside that little radius that you mentioned. So there is not a matter of few inches that you are talking about here." But yes, Goldilocks zone is not measured in inches, but I imagine
Inches, yeah, it is quite
millions
right.
of
Yeah.
kilometers. But yeah, that is a very interesting name for a very interesting phenomenon. That's a cool question, Vinny.
Yes. So, as I mentioned, that's all for this episode. Thank you all for listening in. We hope you enjoyed the show, learned something new. If you like what you heard, please consider subscribing to our podcast and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform, wherever you're listening right now. Take out 2 seconds and subscribe to us. It helps us reach a wider audience and allows more people to enjoy and discover the show. We'd also love to hear from you. Feedback, suggestions, even trivia. If you're listening on Spotify, there's a question underneath to which you can give the answer. The question being, how was this episode? You can reach us on Instagram also at Are You Quizzing Me? We appreciate your support and look forward to sharing more episodes in the future. Aditya will be back after the musical sting with the fact check. And that's all from me for this episode.
And see you guys next week. And here's the fact check for the episode. Is It Cake is an American game show style cooking competition television series where contestants create cakes that replicate common objects in an effort to trick celebrity judges. MILF Manor is an American reality television series where 8 single women between the ages of 40 and 60 live in a villa in Mexico to pursue romantic relationships with 8 single men a few decades younger. In the first episode, the show reveals that the men are the women's sons. Dolph Lundgren has a master's degree in chemical engineering. And that's all for the fact check.